Well, welcome to a new year in 2021 and to TuckerAllen Live on Facebook. I'm Scott Trout as I continue to moderate our 15 minutes or so that we have together to talk about all things regarding trusts, wills, estates, elder law. And as usual, I'm joined by one of the TuckerAllen attorneys. Welcome, Missy Shands Manning. Welcome back to TuckerAllen Live on Facebook.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Well, always good to have you and start this new year. So we just finished up a virtual town hall yesterday and encourage everyone to continue to follow that and register for the next town hall in February. You can check out information at TuckerAllen.com or follow us on social media, and you get more information where you can register, and we'll spend an hour together and you can ask questions and get answers. And today we're going to talk about how to choose a guardian, a trustee, and an agent, or fiduciaries. We went through a lot of terminology yesterday. And so maybe in our few minutes that we have today, let's start with fiduciary. A lot of people hear that term. What is it? What does it mean?
So a fiduciary is someone who's acting on your behalf under some sort of legal document. Now, they all have different names according to the different types of documents. So, for example, you have an agent under a power of attorney. You have a successor trustee under a trust. You could have a guardian or conservator under a will or something like that. We just generally call them all fiduciaries because they all have some sort of duty to you.
So what kind of decisions do they make? You know, healthcare, financial, we've always heard about powers of attorney. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, so if it's a healthcare power of attorney, they can make healthcare decisions. If it's financial power of attorney, it's financial decisions. If it's a trust, they make decisions about trust property. If it's a guardian, they could be making decisions about you if you're incapacitated or your children if you have minor children.
So yesterday, I think we alluded to it during the town hall a little bit, but what are some of the mistakes, the biggest mistakes people make when they're choosing a fiduciary?
Oh, so one of the big ones we hear a lot is choosing the oldest child or the oldest daughter to be your fiduciary. Just because one of these children is your oldest child doesn't mean that they're the best fit for the position. It is not an honor. It is not a right. It is who is going to do the best job for you. It doesn't matter if it makes some waves among your kids if you don't go in birth order. It's all about getting things done at that point.
Yeah. I mean, as you say these, I know we did the 5 mistakes people make in estate planning. I check, maybe I did or didn't. You know, you automatically, like you said, the oldest, you think, okay, you don't want to hurt their feelings. Maybe, you know, just because they occupy the position of first child. But I agree. It should be. My wife and I obviously had a conversation about who's more appropriate to handle certain things. You don't want conflict, but I think that's a huge one. But sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
No, another one is choosing multiple agents to serve together. So you could name 2 powers of attorney acting together, 2 agents. We never recommend having multiple agents serving at the same time. We found in the past that it creates big difficulties for our clients. They might disagree. They may think one person's doing something and the other person's thinking they're doing it, and then nothing gets done and the house mortgage doesn't get paid and the house goes into foreclosure. Or they could both end up doing things and double pay bills. It creates a lot of strain on relationships. And if it's something like a healthcare decision where a decision has to be made right away, that is a critical time to make a decision and move forward and not have a family feud about what's best for mom. Just one captain at the helm.
Yeah. Could be a friend, coworker, someone you trust, and that leads us into kind of the factors of what you should consider when naming it. Not just the mistakes, but you know, going through your mind. And I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say. But for us, and I've said this before in our TuckerAllen Live segments, and that is, for example, healthcare. I have a daughter who's in the medical field, so that made sense for us. And someone who's more financially minded, that made sense from a financial. So what are some of the factors that people should consider?
Obviously, the biggest one is honesty and trustworthiness. This person is going to be making very important decisions for you financially or healthcare-wise. So you want to make certain that you have someone that isn't going to steal from you, that isn't going to blow it off, that's not going to put it their lowest priority. Of course, we all don't think the people that we trust and name are going to do that, but the biggest thing is always to make certain you trust that person. Don't put down someone you don't trust 100%.
Yeah.
Another one is to make certain that a person has a similar mindset to you. So if you're a pull the plug sort of person, if you're in a vegetative state and you're not going to come back and that's it, that's the end of the line for you, make certain that you put down a person who can actually enforce that decision as your healthcare power of attorney. If you put down your oldest daughter and she cannot pull the plug on mom, no matter you said you wanted your plug pulled, then that is never a good choice to put down. So make certain they think how you think and they can follow your direction.
I wasn't really avoiding it, but I'm pretty good at procrastinating. I needed a trust. When I found TuckerAllen, all our questions were answered, all of our fears allayed.
You want your wishes in place, so there's no guessing, no stress on the children.
Basically, they talk about what you need, what's important to you. It was more conversational, really very simple.
That's an important point. I can tell you from personal experience, we had someone in the family appoint an individual, and it was time. It was time to make that decision. They couldn't do it. And one of the reasons I think I'm convinced they couldn't is because that conversation was never had. I mean, it's important. We just had conversation with some of the older parts of our family and saying, look, okay, number one, we don't want you to go into our home. We don't want you to do this, but what do you want? And knowing, and then getting, like you suggest, having a same mindset and like, okay, and if I can't do it, and I'm going to say it, Jane, I can't do that. And so I'm probably better off not being that person because I can't live with myself. And I think it's about having that conversation, and you don't want to end up like, like you said, having to have someone, oh man, I can't do it. Can't do it. That's a hard thing.
It is. My husband actually is not my healthcare power of attorney because he says he would not be able to pull my plug. Even though I've told him several times, so.
Maybe that's a good sign that he didn't say he'd pull it prematurely. So that's always a good sign. So go ahead. Choosing the best parent for your children. We're going to talk about guardians and minors. That's always a
Wait. Can we back up? I've got a couple more things about important factors to consider.
Absolutely.
So we talked about honesty and similar mindset, but I also wanted to mention one that's pretty popular is someone that's local. So I know we live in a digital age now where anyone can send things via the internet and phone calls, but practically speaking, things just get done faster if you have someone that's able to be here locally and get things done. So if your house needs to be cleaned out, having someone fly in from California and spend weeks here trying to clean out your house and sell it, it's just not financially practical. It's also much easier for them to just show up at your bank instead of having to fight through a phone tree. Stuff like that. It's not a key thing if you don't have anyone else other than someone that's not local, but it's convenient. It's certainly a factor you should consider.
Yep. So guardians, I know I'm jumping all over the board in our 15 minutes. We could talk for an hour, obviously, but guardians, that's a big thing. We had a question yesterday in our virtual town hall about guardians and selecting that. Maybe let's talk a little bit about guardians for minors.
Sure. So people tend to get very bogged down on the minutia about, do they live in a good school district? Do they have enough rooms in their house? Are they going to be able to afford having 5 extra kids come and join them, for example? Don't worry about that so much. It all ends up working out. You should have enough money from life insurance and your other finances to put your kids through to age 18. So don't worry about burdening them with additional financial costs. When you get down to it, really ask yourself the one key question is, who is going to be the best parent for your child when you can't be there? Everything else all works itself out. If they've got to make new friends in a new school district, they'll make new friends. It's okay. Don't just go with someone because they're in your school district.
Mm-hmm. So same person, trustee, fiduciary, can you do it all in one? Should they occupy all those roles, including guardian?
Sure. So we do get asked that question a lot. If the same person who's acting as guardian and doing the child rearing should be the same person who acts as your successor trustee and handles the money. There are some pros and cons with both of them, and it varies wildly by the situation of their family. So some people will very commonly end up having the same person doing both jobs, but other people prefer to have it split out. So it's convenient for the guardian not to have to go and apply for money every single time they need new soccer shoes or something along those lines. Some people prefer, though, that there be an extra person in between just to prevent any mismanagement of money. So there's just, another second person, another set of eyes on things. Mm-hmm. And then some people really worry about the extra work of having to serve 2 duties, already taking on childcare, then having to do the finances. But it ends up working out okay. All of our trusts have provisions that say they can appoint a co-trustee if they need a co-trustee. They can get a corporate trustee to handle all that side of things. They're allowed to hire people. They're allowed to hire a nanny or someone to help them out. So it all works out okay. And
Yeah.
if they really can't do it, they can always step down.
You know, sometimes fewer hands in the basket's easier than having to deal with a whole bunch of people occupying several roles that have to make decisions all at once. I get it. You know, maybe easier, just as you suggest, to have one if it's the right decision. It makes sense to me. But again, I keep coming back to this, and even when we think about guardian, you know, I've heard stories where someone said, well, apparently I'm the guardian of their children, and I didn't know that, and they didn't ask me, nor did we have that conversation. And I find that unusual. But I mean, I think it's some people shy away from that conversation because they're uncomfortable. They're talking about death, you know, the future, you know, their kids. But gosh, I mean, it's now is, you know, better than ever. You know, if you don't have it now, when are you going to have it? After you pass? Because that's not going to happen, right? So
That's a good point.
it is. I mean, so it is. My wife and I were talking about having conversations with, you know, the older parts of our family, and I'm like, ooh, do we want to upset them? But no, it's like, you know what? It's the elephant in the room. Often, when you're either doing your planning or you're thinking about in the future, you're choosing a, you know, a guardian, you're choosing a fiduciary. Just say, hey, how do you feel? What if I selected you? Are you cool with that? You know, and I think that's important. And then you can have that conversation with someone like you, an attorney at TuckerAllen, and say, hey, having the same person as my guardian, as my trustee, is that the right thing to do? And then, like you walked everyone through today, that's what you would do. So that's good stuff. So appreciate it. Joining again on TuckerAllen Live, and as we slam through a very delicate topic in such a short period. So Missy, as always, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, again, check us out, TuckerAllen.com. Tune in every Friday when I'm not running late. And you can check us out at TuckerAllen Live on Facebook. Every Friday, we'll bring you more information, just some Power Pack 15 minutes just to get you through the weekend. So until next Friday, we'll see you then.